Hey, you're in the garden with Keith Ramsey. How are we doing today? We're going to talk about two of my favorite things in beekeeping. It's what I always tell new beekeepers, and it's what I really believe. Mites are, there's a varroa mite that affects bees. When you're not collecting honey, you need to treat. You need to treat for varroa mites. They're an ongoing concern. I don't usually test before I treat. I usually test after I treat to make sure that the treatment's worked. But it's treat and feed, treat and feed, treat and feed. So this morning we're talking about the treating part of it. Apivar is a product that a lot of people have used for years. It works really, really well. The good thing about Apivar is you can use it in the heat, you can use it in the cold. There's not a time that it's really detrimental to the bees. It's 2 small strips, so you buy a pack of 10 strips. You go into the hive 1/3 in, 2/3 back, and you put a strip down. So you're within the brood pattern, and then you come 1/3 back and 1/3 over, and you put another strip here. That gives you Apivar all around the brood pattern, which is going to give you good control. If you've got 2 boxes, you're going to use 4 strips. So if you've got 1 hive body high, you use 2 strips. If you've got 2 hive bodies high, you use 4 strips. I always recommend taking the honey supers off. I don't want any treatment in, organic or not, that is on there while the honey's on there, and that's usually the way it's recommended. Oxalic acid, which is wood bleach. Oxalic acid is a naturally occurring element in nature. It's found in oxalis, a plant that we sell. That's also a great mite treatment. It has been labeled to be used while the honey supers are on, just in the last year or so. I still don't like to treat while there's a honey super on. I would always rather pull the honey supers off, treat, and then come back and put them back on. So this is probably the easiest way to do an oxalic acid treatment. You close the hive down. You use a respirator, some sort of protection. I like to use goggles, but you put a teaspoon of oxalic acid in here. You slide it into the hive. You take these 2 and you either put it on a car battery. If you need more distance, you can use an extension cord, cut both ends of it off, and just use that as a conduit to move power through it. But you're basically using this as a heating element, and you slide it into the hive. This is up against the hive entrance, and you plug it to the battery. You leave it until the oxalic acid burns off, and you pull it back out, and you leave that towel on there for a few minutes. That's a good way of controlling mites. You need to do that on a 7-day cycle. As the mites, this will work on anything that's out and moving around in the hive, but it's not going to handle things that are in the brood pattern. So if you want to treat with oxalic acid, you need to treat once, and then as new bees are hatching, you need to treat again, and then treat a 3rd time. Apivar, you put it in 1 time, and that's what makes it such a great product. When you get into cooler weather, early spring and fall, under 85 degrees, and I like to be under 80 degrees, Formic Pro. It's kind of a fumy kind of pad. Again, there's a lot of stuff in nature, so there's a lot of fumes that come with it. Use a respirator. Keep a smoker going so that you can tell where the smoke's going. The way the smoke's going is the way the fumes are going. So start that down at that end that the smoke's going towards, and work your way back the other way. There's 2 ways of doing Formic Pro. You can do 2 pads at one time, or you can do a pad and then 10 days later do another pad. It's been found that doing the 10-day cycle with 1 pad and then another pad 10 days later is a little easier on the queen. And since the queen is the key to successful beekeeping, I think that's the way to go. And then, I've never been big on testing. I've always been more just on treating. but here of late, you know, if a treatment doesn't work, you could still lose your hive. So I like to go back and at least do a sampling, if not test all the hives to make sure that the treatment worked and you don't need to go back in and do another treatment. So that's got it on mites for the moment. We're always here. Come in, talk to Jason, email Jason at jason@gardensupplyco.com. Come in, ask questions. We've got the products that you need, and we're here to help. We want people to be successful in beekeeping.